Hello, everybody, and welcome to the House Salt live show. I don't even know. This is the book for December.
December.
We did catch
Yeah.
up. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is Bloodmarked was our book for December. My name is Marines. My channel is My Name is Marines, and I gave this 3 out of 5 stars.
Solid. Okay. I'm Sam. You're on my channel, Thoughts on Tomes. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I'm Jordan from the channel, the Jordan Journals, and I think I would give it, I don't rate books, but probably somewhere in that range. I enjoyed it.
Hi everyone, I'm Paige from Paige Felicia, and I gave this a 3.5.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna start here
A lot
because
lower than the first one.
Yeah.
so this is the first time we've done a second book in a series.
Yeah.
And we were all so excited because we loved Legendborn to some degree. I went back and I reread Legendborn, and that was a mistake. And that sounds harsh, but it's still, I didn't change my rating from a 4-star. I think it's still in that 3.5 4-star. But I think that on like rereading, all of the things that I didn't like that we were like, that's a weakness, like the world building, just stood out to me a ton more on reread. And I didn't have as much fun the second time through as I did the first time through, where I was just gonna like wee the whole time. I'm like, what is even happening? Also, just to get this out of the way, I feel like at some point I said that I liked Cell and I liked that love triangle. I was drunk.
We're gonna discuss.
Take it back. But before we get there, we talk about this book. Did you guys reread? Did you remember like the first book? What did you guys do?
I reread and I still liked it the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, possibly even more because I was less confused because I knew stuff now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the feelings that I had were like pretty much the same. I was surprising because I think in the live show for Legendborn, like I was not like the hugest fan of Cell. Like you were more Team Cell than I was in that live stream.
I
think spiritually 2021, because we released in 2021, right? Was it 2021?
Yeah, I think January. I think it was our first
Yeah.
one.
I think it was
2021,
I think 2021 spiritually was a better year for us in reading. So maybe you were just like a better headspace.
Maybe.
It was the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we were optimistic.
More forgiving.
Also, there was more Nick, so I think Cell compared to Nick, IMO personally, Nick was too like baby boy. No interest.
Yeah. Okay, like the comparison between.
Yeah, so when you had those two options, Cell was the more interesting one. So maybe that was.
Cell is categorically more interesting than like white bread Nick, but like, yeah, it was still. I knew that Nick was more Mari coded. You know, so I was very surprised when Cell was like her favorite in the first live stream, which has changed. This has changed for you.
I mean, I just don't understand what I was thinking. Because Cell is so like it's the anti-Madi.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it was surprising.
Who was she? Who liked that? I don't know. I think the thing that gets me is like not anything fundamentally about the character has changed on my second read. It's just on second read, I didn't feel like the balance between like when he was a dick, like when he turned the corner and was like not a dick, like that didn't balance out to me. It was too much of a dick. I was like, I don't care if he turned a corner now. You were gonna kill her. Like I don't know what's going on. So maybe I don't know. I felt that balance more. I was like, oh, I forgive him the first time, but the second time I was like, no, you suck.
I did not reread it, so I spent the first 50 or so pages confused as fuck trying to figure out what was happening because they drop you right back into it as well. So like literally. I feel like a reread.
Oh, I'm surprised though, because I feel like she reminds a lot in the beginning of Bloodmarked, where I was like, oh my god, okay, we get it. But maybe that's just because I just reread Legendborn.
Brain erased. I was like, I don't remember anything from this first book. This is truly me being like, who are you? All of the like people, the scions or whatever, did not know who any of them were. I was besides Greer. I was like, no, I don't understand anybody.
Yeah, you know, the thing that I forgot that I was like, I need to be reminded was like all of that, like the pages and the scions and the Merlins and the connections. And I read it again, and I was still like,
I only rewatched our live show.
Nice.
I didn't reread the book. I wasn't confused like being dropped into the second book so much. The other thing that like I was confused about, which is a carryover from the first book, was like the difference between Onceborn and mages, like all that world building stuff that we didn't understand in the first book. I still didn't understand at the beginning of this book. But I felt like our live show was enough to like get me re-excited and to like spark enough of my memory that I didn't need to reread the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's smart.
So Jordan, what was Maddie thinking back then? What was her excuse for liking Cell? Do you remember what she said?
I think part of it might have been we convinced her into it.
Okay.
It feels a little bit like we were all so excited about Cell, and Mari was like, "That's fine. Sounds great."
She was like,
the scene where he makes the Twilight reference when she's on his back, iconic. And that's the only thing I remembered from book one.
Fucking happens too many times. It was funny the first time. Every other time in this book that he's like, and I put her on my back. I was like,
but that happened with the world.
There's a lot of repetition in book 2 for sure.
Yes.
The world building stuff, we all kind of were just like, we didn't understand, but we just kept reading it, and eventually we were like, fine. And Mari was like, no, I was never. But like, I think we convinced her into thinking it was okay. She was like, okay, fine. I guess if you were all fine,
that feels right.
Are the most contagious? Apparently.
You guys are very convincing.
Yeah.
We had some good arguments. Like,
yes,
agreed.
it is kind of fine. Like you can get through the story and enjoy it, and like the hand wavy world building isn't that big of a deal. It is fine. Did you guys feel the same way in book 2? Did you feel like that there was that like hand wavy world building, or did you feel like you understood more of what was happening in book 2?
It's hand wavy still.
I felt the same as I did in book 1.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm the least confused of everyone. I don't know. Paige, how do you feel about the world? I feel like I'm fine. Like I know things. With it.
I feel like the King Arthur portion of it, I feel like it was more understandable this time around, like having him as a perspective in it and seeing like that side of everything. The demon world element that was introduced now is the part where I'm like, I don't understand this.
Yeah, it's the demon stuff and the little hand waviness around the other magic users.
Yes,
like it's
exactly.
very like for in the first book we had sort of like root and ether, and like those were the two, and now it's like it's everything, and we're like, okay. What? So that was a little bit like, I feel like it jumped ship a little bit on like, I think that there was, as much as it was sometimes confusing in the first book, there was a structure to it, and this one feels a little bit more like we're expanding so quickly that there's like no structure anymore.
And that's what it is. It's like, it's not like confusing, like, you know, like she's told us something and I just don't get it. It's like hand wave, and it's like throwing a lot of stuff at us, and a lot of it is just proper names like this, and this, and I'm just like, I'm not going to retain any of that. Cool.
It's like the vassals and the onceborns and the pages and the squires. It's just like the words just keep coming a lot, and it's just like, I know they're all people that exist in the world, but I don't really know if I could articulate to you all the differences between them.
And the thing that was kind of confusing is it's way over, but like in the first page of Bloodmarked, where that she has like the thing, like the structure set up where it's like 3 different sections. I was like, how? I don't get how these people are all supposed to be like equal to each other when the Legendborn like basically do all the fighting and everything, but like, so like Legendborn, Mage Guard, King's Guard, King's Mage, like that was a lot.
What was the name of the people who had powers before or never got called and they're still fighting in the field? It begins
Lieges.
with Lieges or something. Okay. I was trying to remember what the fuck are they called?
It's a little convoluted.
Yeah.
Once you age out of the society too, but yeah.
Someone commented that all the magic is the same. There's just different approaches to the use of magic. And I think that is what I enjoyed the most, was seeing like the whole idea of like this order or whatever. They just decided that this is how you're supposed to use the magic, and it's supposed to be like these people on top of each other. And then seeing the whole like the flashbacks of how it originated with like the demon, half demon people, which is like, and that there are more of them outside of just the mages from the order as well, and they have different names. Like seeing that element of it felt more, a little bit more grounded. But then like the whole humans can also use ether and all of that stuff, I was like, okay, there's a little bit that's still unexplained, and I don't know if we're gonna get that explanation in the third book.
Yeah, it just feels like a lot that it's I don't know, it feels like a lot that is expanding that I feel like there's gonna be just like drop threads on of like, why even bother saying that we have these things? Like, why even
And like,
bother
how do
telling
people find a
us?
bar and all of that kind of stuff that
Right,
like, where
in the
they can
middle
get
of
it.
Georgia. Yeah, like I think there's just a little bit too much. It's not so much that I'm like, oh, again, it's confusing, or like, yeah, the magic is magic regardless of what you call it. Totally get that, but it's just like I feel like she's tying a lot of things in, and maybe not necessarily having the time to wrap those things up successfully in one word. Because we think it's gonna be a trilogy, right? It's just a trilogy.
I don't know if it's 3 or 4.
Okay, I don't know if we know that. Okay, so if there's more than one, maybe like it'll be fine. But I just feel like the expansion that she did in this one was like maybe a little much. But could be wrong.
Yes, and I'd like, in the chat, someone said that the titles are convoluted on purpose. Cool. Like, I do not like or believe that this was like not done on purpose, right? Like, she's building something here. Tracy Deonn understands what she's doing. That's great. The reading experience of it, though, I think is not always enjoyable because of the amount of like things are kind of rolling at you. Also, she's not great at action sequences. Like, I'm reading through her action sequences and I'm like, who's where? Like, what? And
you did mention that in the first one too.
Yeah.
Just like in a scene, like, wait, what? Like, because things like it's not super clear to me. And that continued here as well. And the main thing that like knocked this down for me as a second book is that it was very repetitive. So not only is it like sometimes convoluted and sometimes hand wavy on purpose or not, it is also just so repetitive in this book. Do you guys feel the same way? How did you enjoy sort of like the plot? Because so much happens here. It's not like nothing happens. A lot happens. But I was just kind of like stuck in a loop, it felt like, reading this.
I think go ahead.
I feel like a lot happened, but it took like a lot to get from thing to happen. If that makes sense.
Pacing was real weird, I think, but you feel stuck in a loop because Bree is stuck in a loop of constantly being in a coma and out of a coma. Bree is fading into blackness every other chapter. Which that I did a review for this recently, and I mentioned that like the plot armor of like her being constantly in danger but not really is like, so like, why are we bothering to do this over and over again? Like, we get that she's in danger. We don't need to actually put her on death's door in a coma every time for us to get it. Like, so that felt so like, okay, yeah, she's been knocked out and she's almost dead and she's getting healed, and she gets knocked out and she's almost dead and she's getting like over. I mean, how many times do we have her in like the infirmary? Like, in this
also like serves to give it gives a lot of like other backstory information. Like, it's like a lot of info dumpy stuff happens while she's knocked out, and also
you were knocked out for 3 days.
Right, but like, here's all this info dumpy stuff from King Arthur's perspective, and then also it like works to like move her from place to place sometimes too.
Yes.
Right. Or
I think the only time it was done well was the first instance where she was being wiped of her memory every time. I like the way that was done in terms of like the end of that chapter was really fun, where it was like it said the same thing over and over, and you knew like you didn't have to repeat it toward the end, but then it just kept happening later on.
I think it was that plus the amount of times it happened later. Like, if you would have just been that of her being knocked out all the time, it's like, okay, cool. But then we're doing it. It's like, we get that she can be magically healed. Like let's not do this every single time. That just got to be a little much. It was very much like, we can take a shot every time that she gets knocked out. We can take a shot every time Sel is carrying her on his back. Like, there's a few things that were just way overly used.
Well, and I feel like the knocked out scenes, like in most media, only happens like once over like a span of a week. Like, you have that scene, that sequence, but I feel like for her, it didn't matter where she was or like who was around her. She just like kept having these scenes of, it wasn't contained to like one portion of the book.
Right. And it was supposed to be like, oh, look, she's so constantly in danger. Her life's on the line. We have to try to protect her, blah, blah, blah. But like, I think there's other ways you could have done that besides just this constant, we're healing her all the time.
Because what it kind of reminded me, and this is an insult to Bloodmarked, I know, because this is a better book, but it kind of reminded me of Lore by Alexandra Bracken.
I was trying to remember what other book we were talking about where we had the same complaint.
I don't remember because Laura has been dumped from my brain.
So remind me. It was almost like too much was happening and nothing mattered because we were stuck in the same cycle of like the main character doing something, getting knocked out, getting healed, doing something, getting knocked, and it just started happening to so much that it's like, okay, nothing matters. It is that plot armor or whatnot. And then it started like making me ask questions that I probably like would have been better to not ask. And it was like, okay, like, she can't train, she can't control her magic, but she should be training, but nobody's going to train her. And I was just like stuck in this place of like this, I don't actually understand what anybody is doing and why at this point. And it made me really frustrated with the main character, which we'll circle around to Bree, Bree was like one of the things that I love the most in Legendborn. But here she is so frustrating in such a like, in a way that is self-aware, because again, on purpose, I'm sure like people call her out and they're like, you're being reckless, you're diving into things. But it happened so many times where she was just like, wee, jumping into danger and then being like, oh no, someone died. And I was just like, this is not enjoyable.
But we liked that in book 1. We liked that, like, she wasn't good at fighting or wasn't trained or like.
But she should be getting better and not just
like they never let her train. Like
they never let her train.
Yes,
we didn't have a training montage.
yes, and it was very like she didn't feel like quite the same to me in this book, because it was like she did spontaneous dumb things in the first book too, but like within reason, and like you could kind of see the line of logic here, where this time she, like, even at the very beginning, she's like, I'm gonna go off to like the very border of the like magical borders and like do something. And it's like, but you already know that like everyone's life is on the line if you get killed or hurt. Like,
and then they're like, oh, she's like, I need to train. And they're like, there's a training arena inside the wards. And I was like, wait, what? Why did we just, and there was constantly things like that where she was just making decisions. And I was like, girl, and it fed into the like repetition. It took away my enjoyment from the main character, which was such a like big thing in the first book. And it made it feel more, oh man, this is like gonna get me in trouble, but it's very like YA fantasy where like the main character is like, like, I don't know, reckless and making mistakes or whatnot. But it was so exaggerated here that I was just like, I don't like
and
this.
It felt like a lot more this time. Things were just happening to her versus her making active decisions, even if we didn't agree with them in the first book. And I feel like that was a main problem for me. It felt like so much was happening, but it was happening to her, versus like some of the stuff was because of a decision she made, but she made that decision because this thing was happening to her, versus her like actively causing half of the like fights and stuff that she did in the first book.
Or even just like the amount of like barriers that were put in her way, like the first 150 pages when she does get taken or whatever, it's just like barrier, and you're just like, okay, but like come like it just was stop start constantly of like, I know that this is going to take off, and it did for me once she got out of that situation. Like, but that was so like mind numbing of just like, it's the same thing over and over. That was rough pacing wise.
And like the barriers too, and like the frustration of that. Like I actually like kept feeling some of it, especially it kind of felt like a little whiplashy, especially because even the people closest to her were like, we're behind you, do the thing. And then they were like, we're not, go. And it was like this constant like tug of war that really like, it's exactly what you said, Paige, that left her with so little agency that it didn't even feel like the same character. I'm realizing how much I did not enjoy.
Well, like you said about the like, it felt a little bit more like YA samey. I think that's something too that when we first read it, or at least this is how I felt, this felt like something different. Like this felt like a slightly more elevated YA. Like, and this is nothing against YA. It's just like YA is written for a certain audience, and it is going to be a certain way. And this felt just breath of fresh air to me. And then the second book felt like, oh, I'm reading a YA book. Like that's,
and I also feel like some of the things that were new in the first one weren't new anymore in the second one. So you didn't even have that, oh, this is like different, because you knew what to expect. Like I'm thinking of like specifically the way it handled like colonialism in America and like slavery and stuff. Some of it felt very on the nose in a way it didn't in book 1, which had me rolling my eyes. And we'll talk about like the specific moment later. But like I feel like the stuff that was really refreshing in book 1 became kind of like overused because they were leading too far into it versus like telling a good story as well as having these elements in book 2.
Even in rereading it, like I reread Legendborn, and even as I was like, okay, some of the stuff is more annoying, the things that really stood out to me were those moments where it was like, you know, her getting like demon gunk out of her curly hair, being like, damn it, like, you know, it's like not wash day, but like, you know, those small moments, but also just like talking about being the only one in the room and like all of the racism that she felt. I know we talked about this in the live, the moment where she's going into the like thing at the end, the event, and like I think there's a black man at the door and he's like, all right honey, or something like that. He goes in all like, so there were so many like wonderful moments like that throughout, and this one did have some as well, but I was like, okay, that's good, that's like good commentary, that was fun, but there were so many more moments where it was like, racism is bad. Honey, and I was just like, is this the same? Like, I don't like it.
Wasn't as like intricately woven in with the story, and some
more like nuanced.
It was more like sitting on top of the story in some situations.
Yeah. All right, we're like, anything else to say about Bree as a character or anything that she went through? We're like all over the place with this, and I'm not even directing this, but I do want to get back around to Cell as a character. I would say Nick, but Homeboy was like a dream.
He was barely in it. He was a dream, literally.
And then we'll talk about the love triangle.
Okay, I was gonna say like the choice to remove Nick and like send him away was like so typical YA second book.
Yes,
I was just rolling my eyes.
So true.
I'm like, you sent him away so that they could develop this relationship.
Yes.
In a very convoluted way. Someone in the comments was saying that Bree was given the Elena Gilbert treatment. That's a Vampire Diaries reference.
I was thinking that.
This book is season 3 of the Vampire Diaries. Like this is when like Stefan's off and like Damon and Elena are like getting a little close, you know, like I was like, girl, I know you watched the Vampire Diaries. Like,
gotta save Elena. Gotta do everything for Elena.
Which for me is kind of fine because I do like, that's that tropey shit that I love. So like that didn't bother me. I'm not necessarily like diehard for Cell as like a romantic interest because I'm still not sure. We will talk about this when we get to the love triangle, where this is going to go. But I do find him like more interesting because he is like a Cambion, and her mom and his mom knew each other, and like what's the deal with his mom, and like he just has the coolest abilities because he's a half demon. Like he's interesting. Him and the other guy that we ran into that's also a Cambion, I was like, okay,
loved him.
You guys are interesting.
His name was.
Yeah,
he was like, my
yeah. Like it was like, okay, so I enjoy him in that way, but I'm not necessarily like. Yeah, we'll talk about more when we get to that.
He's a more complex character. There's more like going on with him than just
he's not even complex as much as he's allowed to be morally gray in a way that like
on screen. He's Nick has one note and Cell has 2 notes. Cell has asshole and I'm sorry, and Nick has
I'm good boy. Puppy dog eyes.
I'm a good boy.
I'm a good boy. Yeah,
I'm a good boy.
I wouldn't call that complex myself. You know,
I meant in reference to Nick, like when you're referring, you're
comparing
the two.
I don't know. I would argue that he has some complexity within this world of, you know, again, we're coming from a YA context, but like he's allowed to have more gray area of like, he's a demon and part demon, and is it the demon blood or is it his actual personality? And he's been trained his whole life to defend this person who he doesn't have any access to. And there's a new king. Like there's sort of a lot going on with him within the context of this. Do I think he's necessarily like a groundbreaking complex character in relation to other work? No. But like within this story, yes.
He has a lot going on. He does have a lot going on. I think we only need like 2 shades of him processing that, however, and it is asshole and oops, sorry.
And I didn't understand like her, like the whole bit where she realizes that she's being like glamored, whatever the fuck it was called in the book, where he actually looks more demon-like than she realizes, and she loses her shit. And I'm like, it wasn't that big of a deal, bestie. He just didn't want you to see he had like dark circles. Like, I don't understand.
100%.
And she was like, oh, it's because I was tortured. And I'm like, but that, like, he was just hiding his face. He wasn't like mentally like controlling you in any. So like that, it felt like an overreaction when I was reading it, and I didn't understand the conflict there. And I felt like it just has to be conflict for conflict's sake for them. Like,
right, to not be like moving forward together. But also that was so like, I'm not unconvinced that she didn't take influence from the Vampire Diaries, because there's a whole thread in season 3 where Damon is like glamoring or whatever, for what they call it, Elena to forget nice things he does for her. And like, that's a whole thing, and she gets real pissed. And yes, and I was like, are you taking that conflict for this love triangle? Like, that's what it seemed like, because I was like, I was the same way. I was like, why is she reacting to this in such a way?
Yeah,
it's like there had to be some reason that they weren't gonna like
make out.
Yeah, and I feel like that was the reason at that time.
Yeah, there always had to be something where like they get close, she has to pull back. They get close, she has to pull back. Like there was that.
I mean, I'm so glad someone else thought it was an Vampire Diaries.
This is me. I was hoping the whole thing was like, oh, she passed out. Oh no, she's in danger. Oh, she passed out.
I love how you're holding the book when you were actually listening to it, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I that whole reaction to, especially the thing is that like, okay, he lied to me, like you can feel a little hurt about that, but the thing is that like so many other things are happening that with larger stakes, like girlfriend, didn't you almost die for the 17th time? Like let's
pick our battles.
Let's pick our battles. So somebody said in the comments that they took all of Bree's common sense, and that's the thing that sticks out in that moment. Is like you're reacting to the wrong things.
Absolutely.
So the love triangle, that brings us to Cell, Nick. What do you think is even happening there? Nick is
I need a throuple. I'm
getting throuple vibes. I am getting distinct throuple vibes.
No, truly, because they're talking about how he's like, Cell used to be in love with Nick, and then they're like talking to each other about her when they're like fighting in the
any of you
dream world.
Translate the Welsh, because I didn't go back and do that. I forgot to, but like they were having a like where
combo about how hot she is. Yeah,
right. And I was like,
yeah, I love it. That's the only thing I'm here for at this point. I'm like, give me a like canon throuple in a YA series.
If it's not a throuple, I will burn all of these books. What else is happening? I don't even like Cell. But if it's not a throuple, I quit.
I think throuple makes the most sense. Like I kept thinking throughout, because I was like, okay, who's the one she's gonna pick? And I was like, I feel like there's and someone again made a Vampire Diaries reference of it's okay to love them both. I kind of feel like that's the vibe we're going for.
If there's a throuple and one of them dies?
I don't sense death.
I don't know.
Sense death.
I think because again, you know, they keep pointing to like her and Nick can't be together because of the whatever, and her whatever. Like there's all these things, and I was like, I just feel like you're pointing to all the reasons all of these people can't be together to then make them all be together in the end.
Does Lancelot die in King Arthur?
There was a lot of things that made me think like which one of these two boys is going to be like go evil and like sacrifice themselves or like die for the other one or something, because I also like that is such a YA.
I can't see it being so. It has to be Nick. Yeah.
Okay, so when Nick ran away from them the first time,
what the fuck was that?
I don't
just to keep him away, so they have to go into the dream world.
It didn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense. And so when he ran away the first time, I was like, he's going evil. This is it.
That would have been great. That would have been so good.
Well, they kind of phrased it as a way like, oh, it was blood last I saw it in his eyes as he's running away. I was like,
again, Ripper Nick, like Ripper Stefan.
Ripper Stefan. I see it.
Hey, like, I also feel like Nick would be the sacrifice too of like, I don't know. I was also thinking, I don't think like this is not something, there's way more incesty things, but because her and Nick's bloodlines intersect, isn't there going to be something like weird with that? Like they're like distantly related.
So
but they keep mentioning how they can't intersect now. So there must be an issue with why in the past.
They can't intersect now because he's Lancelot's line and she's Arthur's line. So the kid would have both lines.
And like, which one would it be? Yeah.
Just contraceptives also.
In the past.
Right. Like we have all these, you figured out a tonic to like block powers, but you can't figure out how to block pregnancy.
Yeah.
interesting.
She can have a kid with someone else.
Thing where it's like in your DNA.
We figured it out. Yeah.
It's like no.
Mm-hmm.
They
wait, did they not intersect back in the past? The two bloodlines? No, they crossed.
Well, they crossed on accident because the one guy, like the Lancelot guy, slept with the Lancelot guy's wife, and the Lancelot guy slept with Arthur, right? Arthur guy's wife. A Lancelot guy slept with the Arthur guy's wife, and then the Arthur guy raped her great.
So then I think like the lines, in order to like write themselves, gave the Arthur line to someone who wasn't related to like the Lancelot. So, like,
okay, I was gonna say, so like, what would be their consequence here? Okay,
it's suspicious.
She can have a kid with Sel and one with Nick. One gets Lancelot, one gets Arthur. That's
right. Done.
That's the
there you go.
You've solved it.
There was a moment when I was with all of these like misleading things of like who's gonna go evil, and I kept like, oh no, okay, so he's the guy and he's the guy. The one where I was like, I don't really like, I think it's setting it up to not be Nick because of the whole idea of like the call and the response. Somebody mentioned earlier about like Sel and Bree and that being about consent, but there was something almost icky about like it being like, I don't know, that they were like drawn to each other in a way that feels like magical instead of like, we got to know each other and we liked each other. So I was like, maybe that's what's happening here. And that's not the relationship we're supposed to be rooting for. But then by the end, when they were like flirting or like speaking in whatever language, and they were both like, she's hot, I was like, maybe it's a throuple. I still have no idea. I have no concrete like guess.
Yeah, I do think it'll ultimately end up being throuple-y because of just like, again, them both like saving her in the end. Like, I don't know, but I'm the same way as you with this like this call response, but I also feel like she's using the call response as like, again, like a like calls to like whatever thing too, because I'm like, are you thinking? Yeah. But that's what made me okay with Nick and her in book one, was when that reveal happened of like, oh, that's why they were so drawn to each other. Because I think in the live show, I don't know if we talked about this, but it was very much like, why do they like already love each other? What? And then it was like, oh, it's Lancelot and Arthur. They have like this. So like that makes more sense to me for them. But yeah, where you do have her and Sel like more naturally getting closer. But even with in book two, I was hoping that there'd be more of that in like a more organic way. And I still don't feel like they're like a better couple in book two. Like I'm just kind of like, there was still too much, again, stop-start with that I'm not necessarily like pulling for either necessarily, although just for the fact that I find Sel more interesting, maybe Sel. But like from a relationship standpoint and the dynamics there, I'm just still kind of like, I don't really like love either, but I do love a throuple.
Isn't there a female love interest in the King Arthur tale?
There's Guinevere. Which they do sort of mention. Like they mentioned that in book one where they're like, oh, Lancelot slept with Guinevere and that was Arthur's love or whatever. And I'm like, are we bringing in who's Guinevere? Is Sel
I think
Guinevere?
That was like the whole like
is
the
Sel
whoever
Guinevere?
Is that supposed to be in the past?
Author. Yeah, like so like the whole switch over of the Lancelot line was the Guinevere plot point. Where
so there's not a current Guinevere.
There isn't
no.
a current.
And they don't even mention Guinevere we don't mention Guinevere in the flashbacks, which I was like,
no, only Morgana, which makes sense because of the descendants.
Hey, there's still a book 3. We can bring in Guinevere.
Possibly 4.
Are you reading book 3, possibly 4?
Yes.
I'm in.
It wasn't like
we don't hate it. Maddie, are you done?
Maddie,
I need
Maddie, I think 22 was just rough for you.
Yeah. I think it was. That was the other thing too.
Book 1 and book 2 is kind of iffy. I feel like the third book deserves.
Third usually comes back.
Yeah, I agree.
The second's always shaky. Yeah.
Second book slump.
Wait, before we wrap up and
we're not done. There's more to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Like we have to talk about the Shadowborn or Erebus or whatever, and
Morgan.
and the sorry, my dog is like so angry. And the plantation magic place they went to, and Valak. There's so much.
We love Valak.
Was this all at the end? Because I was gonna go to the end next.
Okay.
There's the Volition. There's
Volition.
The Crossroads.
Yeah.
The bar.
The bar.
You're skipping so much.
Mari did say don't ask her about plot points.
I did say.
How fast were you listening to this?
Right. What do you want for speed? Did you listen to this on 4 speed? What is happening?
No, it doesn't go that high.
It goes to 3.5, right?
I was listening to it on 2.5 and I had the book in front of me. And if I didn't have the book in front of me, it was basically gibberish.
That's the thing. I had to sit with the book as well. I couldn't just listen to it.
I just let it be gibberish at some point. I was like,
when they were like when there was like anxiety in a scene and they would talk so fast, the narrator just became inaudible.
No, I heard it.
Oh my
I was
my ears there were no words.
Deal at the end with the demon guy. Like I was there.
All right, the bar maybe? Should we talk about the bar before you get to the end?
Sure.
And volition. Okay.
What about it?
It's like the introduction of like the different pacts, and that's how we found out that there's like a demon pact, and that's why she has some of the like that's the Bloodmarked piece.
Yeah. What? Any feelings about this at all?
I hate you so much right now.
Oh my god. Okay, can we talk about volition then? If not the bar,
right.
Plantation, the ancestors are protecting it. The mom was there.
Would you like to
saw all her ancestors?
Right. I just feel like okay. So
share your feelings.
She had a birthday.
Right. She have a birthday.
So like the demon pacts and like the whatever, like unregulated,
like unsanctioned.
Like, did you see before this that like, oh, a demon actually is like a part of this before that was like revealed that she's been bloodmarked and that's why she has like some of these powers? Like, were you like demon powers, or was that like sprung on you? Do you feel like that you didn't see that coming?
Surprise.
I thought we saw it coming kind of, because I think we knew from the first book that the whole thing was that her ancestors made a deal, and they kept saying that like a daughter for a daughter or whatever the saying was. And I was like, yeah, okay. So like the moms all die. Like I felt like that was the natural conclusion. So when we got here, it was, I mean, I was more like a demon bar than like being like, oh, she made a deal with with a demon. Like it felt natural in terms of like what the story was doing. It just felt like a plot point. I don't really have any other feelings other than that. But did you guys feel like it came out of nowhere, or was it satisfying to you? Like, what are the feelings that you have about the demon stuff?
I mean, that was one of the pieces that I felt like got like too expansive to where we're like pulling in a ton of stuff, because I felt like in book 1 that it was an understanding that like she made a pact with her ancestors, and like that was the blood magic, that was the ancestor pact, whatever. Like the fact that like a demon was listening and like also jumped in there, I was like, what the heck? Like, so, which is kind of like, I get what they're sort of doing here too with like identity and like, okay, so now she has like root magic, ether, order stuff, and demon stuff. She has it all. But yeah, I didn't necessarily see that coming as like a thing. But as a setting, like the demon bar thing as a setting, I love that felt very urban fantasy of like, we're going to a bar and like, there's all these different magic. There's a warlock and there's whatever, like that. I kind of like, but I just don't know if she'll be able to do much with that, as far as like now she sort of brought in all these other kind of supernatural beings a little bit, and I don't know if she'll have the time to like necessarily flesh that out in a way that would be really satisfying.
I'm curious about the demon court stuff as well. Like who, like the demons are bad, they only want like suffering, pain, whatever, and he hops on, but he's been protecting Bree, like Erebus, big reveal, whatever.
He wants her to do something.
He wants her to like end the line of Arthur, which again, something I can get behind. That makes sense. Arthur's a dick. So I'm like, who are we supposed to be supporting in this situation? It's kind of up in the air. I want to learn more about the demon world, but also is it going to be like shadow hunters, but the demons are just bad people? And there's like a couple people who look like human demons that come up and cause shit.
I also like I thought they were trying to be a little bit more like complex in terms of the demons, because we did have Cell, and I was like, well, he is keeping his demon stuff at bay. Like maybe they're trying to be like, not all demons are bad, but it kept like flip-flopping too in terms of like what we're supposed to even believe about the demons. So And the thing that really got me at the end, and with the big reveal of this guy, was how, like, again, Bree, I just wanted to knock her, how easily she's like, sure, my ancestors can take me. And she's like, go ahead, Arthur, take control. And at the end, she's like, you train me, and then you can have all my power. I was just like, girl, stop signing away your life. Like, she did 3 times that you were just like, sure, possess me. With no thoughts, only vibes, I guess. And I just
vibes, no thoughts, just vibes.
But at the end, when she was like, "Sure, train me, and then you can have me," I was like, "Again." I mean, I'm sure she'll get out of it somehow, but that was my prevailing feeling at sort of the reveal in the end.
Yeah. What about Valak as being like the Crossroads child from the like Dream Walk?
I love Valak.
I did too.
I know.
It didn't do no wrong.
He's so sweet.
He was very sweet.
Yeah, I was like, why can't you get with Valak?
Right?
Like, he's kind of a vibe. Like
every time somebody else was introduced, I was like, how about him? How about her?
Right. Literally.
Oh, Victoria. Did you guys have any feelings about like the double cross of Victoria?
No, because she was a bitch in book 1.
Yeah, she was. And then she was
But also, I'm also like, Sarah, why are you like still with her when she's like a raging racist? Like at the end, I guess it wasn't really like Sarah sort of like double crossed her, or maybe she was like staying with her just to like do the double cross or whatever. But I'm like, just the whole part at the end with like the convoluted, like when Arthur took her over, and then there's all that fill-in that happens at the very end after she wakes up from a coma again. That was all really confusing. Like, how did they all get together? Like, I was like, how did Sel and Nick even get there? Like,
I was hoping someone because of DNA. Because she can travel through DNA. That is,
I guess.
And so they blood traveled or whatever as well through DNA to get back to her in the dream. Yeah, that's the only part I understood. I kind of tuned out when they were fighting because, as Maddie says, the fight scenes are not usually the best. So I just was like, okay, they're fighting each other. Something will happen.
Just read with your eyes closed over.
Yeah.
Do you have any like guesses for like where we are going from here? Like,
they destroy the order. That's the only
100%. I was like, the order's definitely getting destroyed because that's gonna like alleviate a lot of the problems of like, again, a lot of who can she pick, whatever. Just like chaos.
Pat came home and the dog freaked out.
But yeah, I think the order like has to be destroyed.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna like Sel's mom is gonna actually make an appearance.
Yeah.
Those are the big things.
I wanted the root magic side of it to be more like, I don't know, involved and more like on her side and whatnot. And they are, for the most part, like she keeps coming across them and be like, hey, you, and then they help her or whatever. But I feel like it's kind of getting away from that because of her like ancestor and the deal with the demon or whatnot, and her being like, I belong to no one.
When she burned like both sides, I was like, girl, you're gonna burn your ancestor side? Like, and I get like the theme of that, I guess, of like, I'm my own person, but I'm like, I thought like a lot of what book 1 was sort of doing was like, you have ties to people and you have ancestors and you have women who will back you up, and like the importance of that and like finding your people, and for her to like burn both, I was like, girl, like that's like a totally different thematic turn.
That was an interesting choice when she did. Like I understood why, like you said, the thematic, like the reasoning behind it all, but I also thought it was very interesting compared to book 1.
Yeah. Especially because to me, like the whole thing, like one of the like best sort of thematic choices was this idea of like having this old ancient secret society of white people who can trace their lines back, and her position of like, well, I don't even know who my family is, but then finding this like root magic and connections and being like, oh, that makes me stronger. And that sort of access to magic is different, and it has more like responsibility to the magic, and like, you know, you can't just take without giving back and all of that. So I was like, yeah, that's so awesome, you know, go Black women. And then she just burns it, and I was like, this is confusing.
Yeah.
That was the one like one of the moments where I was like, that still like lasted and was good from book 1 to book 2 was like when they were trying to find the other possible lines of Arthur, like if they killed Bree, where it would go. And she was like, you fucked up because you don't like, there was no record of the people who I come from besides first names, and that's why you're having a problem now. So I liked that element. I thought that was like a nice carryover, but that was like one of the few like
I did also like when she's kidnapped she's in the in the place where they're taking her memories, and she like actually says, well, let's talk about why I'm here. And she actually makes them like come face to face with the fact that it was rape, and she calls them out on being racist. Like I loved that moment too. There were a couple of other moments where like her white boys were like, that's racist, and it felt a little like white savior-y, or like I don't know, it felt a little awkward in a way.
You had to prove that they weren't
like
racist.
It was this book where I've read so many books this past week, they're kind of blurring together, where they're in the gas station, right? And the two white men are, that was one of the ones where I'm like, okay,
key to the bathroom.
Yes. So yeah, the burning of the ancestor was like not great for me.
I know. I didn't love that, especially because I just felt like we were building up to something like, we have her go to Volition, and like the fact that like this is a former plantation that they took over. The ancestors' power like powers this whole really powerful shield. And then she's going to be like, nope, I don't want anything to do with that. So I kind of think and hope that in the next book, she'll come to terms with like, I don't need to be my own person either. Like I can have a connection to my ancestors, and that can be good too. Because I just feel like if she stays just burned away from all of that, that's going to feel very like, just like a weird choice, especially when we are bringing in some of this like ancestor, like slavery, whatever stuff, to just be like, no, I'm cut off from all of it. It's like, no, girl, you're here because of all of that. It would be a weird choice. So I kind of think she's going to find a way to reconnect to that. Or at least I hope, because I really liked that piece of it.
Yeah. Anything else that I missed?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. I think we're good this time.
Yeah, like
I did warn them before the show. I was like, "Don't ask me about plot points." And then Sam was like, "Plot points."
Like,
I mean, a lot happened, but even though it didn't feel like
you're right. I should have gone back. But I was just,
it was out of your head. That's fine. I don't blame you, girl.
Anything else? Anything we missed? Any moments that stood out to you? Any final comments?
Just to reiterate what we sort of touched on, but more concretely, like, is everyone continuing with this series?
Yes.
I will. If book 3 were out right now, hell no. Like
you would wait.
But if like in a year it comes out, I'll be like, okay, sure, yeah.
I'll forget about this again, and sorry, we'll reread it. And
what I will not be doing is rereading any of these. This is one and done kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think I'll reread Bloodmarked, just because I didn't like it was fine, but I didn't love it the way I loved Legendborn. And I think, again, my experience of when I was reading Bloodmarked is I was like, oh, she's reiterating enough stuff that I could have probably connected the dots. So she's dropping in enough stuff that's okay for me.
Yeah, I think we said at the end of the live show that like you just needed the basics in terms of like, Bree is the Arthur from book 1, and she got called, and I feel like this is what you need to know from here is the demon mark, and she burned both sides.
Erebus, whatever his name is the demon,
and she's with no men.
Love it.
So possibly a couple.
Watching this back because you're going to read book 3. That's all you need to know.
Yes.
Out of 500 pages.
22 hours on an audiobook is entirely too long. It was too long for a second book in a series. No.
Yeah, I don't want to hear judgment about my 3 speed. It was
20. I was on 2.5 the entire time, and
it was long.
The 3 at the end. Yeah,
but it was. I still felt like because it's YA and because the margins are big, I was reading on a physical copy. It was like easy to read, but the first 150 when she was stuck in the loop, that was rough. I had problems. So after that, I was like, so much is happening so fast. Let's just go.
Yep. I do think it was harder to get invested in those first 150 pages, and then
that's why I needed the audiobook. Was
it's just second book, or maybe 3 will again pick back up again if we're following the second book syndrome of like YA books and things. Like book 3 might be
the third should kick off pretty
well.
Yeah.
All right, we did it. I was like, already, I do this every time. I was like, we're not going to fill 45 minutes. Like, that's never going to happen.
And I said, girl, it's definitely going to happen. We do it every time.
You called it. Never let me say this again. Never let me doubt us.
Believe in us. Believe in us.
All right, I'm handing it off to Sam. So we can
all right. Now we are doing all of the have our other special guest. I Kaylin when she's like sleeping. Hold on. Is that how we want it? No.
I like that better.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I need to do some math because we had to, add these in for those of us that did this. So while I'm doing the math, how about we just go around and say like what we, before I reveal how our year went with stats, how we felt the year went with the reading of the book club books. Like what in your heart, what do you feel like? How do you feel like this went?
We'll start with Kayla and then Connor, and then you guys introduce yourselves.
Introduce yourselves.
Introduce yourselves to the crowd, and then then it'll be Mari, Paige, Jordan.
Okay, I'm Kayla. I'm Kayla or K-Shrees on TikTok, and it wasn't the best reading year. I only read 5 of the House Salt books, and I feel like I only really loved 2 of them, so I'll go with that.
Hi, I'm Connor. I'm from the channel Connor O'Brien. I thought that I had not participated as much this year, but apparently I was in like half.
Nice.
Six of them.
Yeah.
More than half.
And that, so I started a whole new career this year, so it was like crazy, and I still haven't figured it out. But I think of the ones I participated in, I don't even know. I don't even remember which ones I was in.
You were in These Violent Delights, Ice Planet Barbarians, Book Lovers, Book of Night, First Sister, and The 100,000 Kingdoms.
Damn, Connor.
Okay, so I remember really liking. I remember liking 2 of those, so I think I did okay. I mean,
2 out of 6. This was okay.
I think like 30% is okay.
Okay, me next.
Yeah.
So I did 10 out of the 11 books. I didn't read Book Lovers. So out of the 10, 2 of these are on my least, like my worst books of the year. I read over 200 books this year, and 2 of these books are my worst of the year. I did look at the list though right before we did this, and I expected it to be like a lot more bad books. What it is a lot of disappointments. It was a lot of books that we were like, we're gonna love this, and we didn't. A lot of middle of the road sort of thing. So not the best book club year for me.
Yeah, I also did 10 out of 11. I didn't read Jade City, which arguably was good for my rating. And I agree. I think it was like, for me, I'm more generous. I feel like with my stars, as we were discussing before the live, I gave something a 3 that shouldn't have been a 3. And I feel like a lot of it was just like, it was mid. It was like, it wasn't horrible. There was some talent behind it, but it just didn't hit the way it was supposed to hit. And that's why I rated it lower.
I read 8 of the 11 books this year, so I didn't read Book of Night, Babel, or I didn't read Book Lovers at the time, but I think I went back and I read that later. I don't want to put this on the book club, but I do feel like the reason I only read like 15 books this year was because of book club.
We will not be seeing Jordan next year.
I think a lot of my book reading slump was contributed in part to book club. A lot of really dense, heavy, like sci-fi, adult fantasy that like I don't typically read, and it was a struggle for me. I don't think they're my new favorite genres. I do remember enjoying Book Lovers and Ice Planet Barbarians. Which
I love it. I love it.
So I'm very excited about next year and
I'm currently reading the what is the one from last year that was by Emily Henry that
People We Met on Vacation.
I'm listening to that one right now.
I really liked that one.
Yeah, that one was good.
She has a new one coming out next year.
I know. Happy Place.
Yep.
I'm ready.
Oh.
We have to do it. It's like tradition.
We gotta.
Sam, are you done with math?
I'm trying, guys. Okay. I think I'm just about, oof, man, that's rough. Yeah, so I just calculated all the stats, and our average, so I calculated like all of the averages for each book, and then I averaged all of the ratings. So our average star rating for like all the books throughout the year was 2.96.
No.
A little bit. Let's just remind everybody what we read. We read These Violent Delights, Ice Planet Barbarians, Jade City, Book Lovers, The Bone Season, Book of Night, The First Sister, The 100,000 Kingdoms, Babel, The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, and Bloodmarked. 2.9.
It was 2.96 was our overall average of averaging up everyone's things. Who do you think rated things? Who do you think rated things the highest, and who do you think rated things the lowest?
Paige the highest.
I think I'm the highest. I think Jordan was the lowest.
Jordan the lowest.
I might be higher just because I didn't read as many.
Connor, you are correct.
Oh
no, Kayla's the highest because
Yeah,
Kayla came in. Yeah. So Kayla's at 3.25.
Kayla picked and chose. You did the
Yeah.
right. You're like you came when you liked the book.
Yeah, Kayla came for some good stuff. So who do you think is the lowest?
Jordana.
Jordan.
No.
Sam.
No. Is Jordan the lowest? Yes, math. Jordan is the lowest.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Mari, you and I are tied.
Nice.
So
with
Mari and I are both
after scores.
Yeah, yes, we went with your after scores and made sure to change things because even when you change things in later live shows for earlier books, I calculated that. So you and I were both 2.86 for our average rating, which is lower than the overall average rating. Jordan was 2.64. Jordan, even though sometimes you said, I'm not rating books, I kind of went off of what
the vibe was.
It would have been where you're like, it was okay, that was a 3, whatever. So I did that. Yeah, Kayla was highest. Paige and Connor were very close, with Paige being a 3.15 and Connor being a 3.16.
Yes.
Oh.
So we didn't. I think in previous years we've gotten around like 3.8 for average rating, for like a lot of it. I would need to go back and check because I didn't watch last year's end of the year live show, but that is a thing. What do we think was our lowest rated book this year?
Oh.
The Bone Season.
I wasn't there for the Bone Season.
I didn't read the Bone Season because I read it Page, and I was like, nope, we're not reading this.
It is the Bone Season. The Bone Season came in at an average 1.33.
Oh my god!
Paige gave it a 2, which bumped it up.
You're welcome. Happy to be that.
Yeah,
I read like one page of that one and was like, absolutely not.
I regret nothing. That book deserves a 1.33. Like, honestly,
I read the Bone Season like 2014 or something, and I remember enjoying it back then. But that was 2014 me, so I'm glad.
I'm a completionist, where I have to finish a series, and that's a series I'm never finishing. Like that's how you know.
Fair.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, actually,
I'm not interested, but apparently she's like rewriting, re-editing it, and I was like, girl, how can you fix trash? I don't know how you can Jordan. So yeah, people are like, are you gonna reread it? I was like, no, why would I hurt myself like that?
That needs to be a TikTok sound. How can you fix trash? I cannot.
Oh my god!
I was gonna say you couldn't pay me, but actually you could if you wanted to commission me to reread it.
Yes, I mean Mari's been reading a lot of Colleen Hoover this year,
a really in-depth video, and it would be great.
Yeah,
an
analysis.
Actually, no, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to. What's very funny is we read our best book of the year right after that. So Book Lovers was our highest rated at 4.8.
That makes sense.
Most of us I didn't read. And
you weren't there to bring it down. Maddie.
You weren't there.
That's the honest. You would have had problems with that fucking book, and you would have rated it like a 3.
I'm gonna read
it. I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
I
think you'll at least give it a 4.
I think it depends on your mood.
Yeah.
Maddie, don't read it now.
I'm gonna read it now. I have to read it before the end of the year.
Oh God, Maddie.
Oh.
I know.
For what?
Well, maybe
I think you'll like it. I think
maybe
you'll like
it'll bring
it.
You joy.
No, I think you'll like it.
I loved Beach Read.
Yeah.
People We Meet on Vacation was mid.
It's like a hybrid of both of them, where it's like very cognizant that it's a rom-com that's making fun of the kinds of tropes that are in rom-coms. So it has a bit of Beach Read where it's like very self-aware and like there's a little bit more to it, but it is still a rom-com.
I don't think
not
it's
as much as Beach Read.
I would say that I like Beach Read the most, and Beach Read and Book Lovers are about equal for me, and the People Man Vacation is lower. So I think
Book Lovers is my top.
Yeah, Book Lovers is my top 2.
Report back.
People we meet on vacation, since I'm in the middle of it, I don't like how obvious she's already invested in like having a relationship with him, because all she
That's
talks
the
about.
point. It's friends to lovers,
Right.
because he romance.
Yeah, but she needs to. She
like it
already is talking like she's like fully in love with this guy, but she hasn't had any of the like questioning things yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird.
People We Meet on Vacation was a Hallmark movie. That's
yeah.
And
that's
this
what
one
Lovers
is
is
aware.
a Hallmark movie that knows it's a Hallmark movie.
Yeah. It's leaning into the like that.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest disappointment and biggest surprise of the year.
Biggest disappointment, Jade City.
Yeah.
These Violent Delights. I thought it was more than I did.
Yeah. These Violent Delights.
Yeah. I didn't have hopes for that one, so it didn't disappoint me.
Yeah. Mine would be Jade City and Babel. I thought
Which you're so wrong for.
I thought Babel was going to be a 5, and it's like a 3 for me. It's landed at like a solid 3. Like, it just based on, again, like we talked about thematically, I appreciate what's trying to do. It just, it didn't meet my expectations, which were, to be fair, the moon. So it's really hard to live up to those expectations. But
I need to look at my rating to see what my biggest surprise was.
I think my biggest surprise was Ice Planet Barbarians.
Jordan, you gave it a 2.
I rated that at 1. I gave that a 1, but that is the one I remember the most fondly. I have the other.
I remember having so much fun.
Jordan, it was so fun. It was so fun. I'm with you, Jordan.
I remember.
I agree.
I remember the beginning sequence on the spaceship with like
the basketball heads,
the basketball shaped heads. Yes, I remember that was not great, but I remember also like it was a fun time. It was
I agree,
simple.
Jordan.
I can't wait for you to pick some of our book picks. I'm so excited.
I don't have a biggest surprise. I'm looking at this list like, what surprised me? Nothing.
Maybe the
first you had already read First Sister.
I think
that
First
one
Sister
was a surprise for me.
I really like First Sister.
Yeah, First Sister. First Sister is our second most popular at 4 stars average. We all gave it 4.
That was my surprise.
My surprise is that you guys all enjoyed it too.
Yay! I'm still reading the sequel.
I want to finish that series.
I'm still reading it.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
All my books are packed up because I'm moving.
Oh.
Kayla and Connor, did you say biggest surprise and biggest disappointment?
I agree with First Sister.
Yeah.
Okay, for biggest surprise.
Biggest disappointment? I don't know.
What did you rate the lowest? Oh, These Violent Delights.
I didn't finish Jade City, but I had high hopes for that.
Did not.
A DNF is a disappointment.
Yeah. It's fair. Okay. Someone else asked best protagonist and worst protagonist.
Oh no. Worst protagonist, Ice Planet Barbarians.
No, worst protagonist, Bone Season. Oh my god.
They're equal.
They're
equal.
Yeah.
Best protagonist.
I don't remember
Lovers Girly. Because I wrote
loving
my
the
review
characters
for
from These Violent Delights either.
No.
Oh, they were also annoying.
They were also
bad. The book Night was also like, or that protagonist was kind of annoying, but because we liked the shadow guy, better. But probably best protagonist.
Book Lovers, because I am the girlie in the city who would get dumped by the guy for the sweetheart from this small town.
But also, she really stood by her ambitions too. She didn't give up.
I love her.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think she's probably my favorite. Yeah. I also liked the protagonists, I think, in First Sister a lot too.
Yeah, she was good too. There were like 50 protagonists.
What about the one from N.K. Jemisin's book?
She's fine.
I remember the whole experience from my brain. Least memorable, 100,000 Kingdoms. I don't know what happened to me during that month, but I just erased the entire thing.
I remembered nothing either, and then I watched back our live show for it, and I was like, "Oh,
it's a mid series.
This was bumped from my brain."
Yeah. Which series, if any, are we continuing with now that things have sat?
Ice Planet Barbarians.
First Sister.
First Sister.
First Sister.
Legendborn.
Also First Sister.
Legendborn.
Legendborn.
Yeah.
I'll read Ice Planet Barbarians because I read like the first 8 now. So.
See, that's
Jesus
like,
Christ.
I feel like I could knock one out in an afternoon, like walking around, like doing my little commute, listening to the audiobook.
Listening to some girl getting dicked down by an alien. I can't. No, listen, I can't. How do you go out in public listening to filth?
That's not the part that gets me. I will listen to the alien dicking down anyone. It was all of the like. And then they had to pee in the corner, and they were so smelly.
Okay, you're making points.
And also, they froze to death. And I was like, just.
But I feel like they get more like whimsical, not whimsical, but like they're less gritty realism. Hopefully.
I think it was the breeding trope that got me for that one.
I stopped with the babies. I'm like, I'm a hard no with the babies.
That's fair. I feel like I would be the same. Babies? I do not like reading about babies.
There's babies. They have blue babies on the covers.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
There's whole books like whole novellas about like just babies and
babies.
Like
no.
Yeah.
See the breeding trope. The breeding thing. No.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Listen, now that we've sat. Oh, go
ahead. Wait. A controversial one that I might continue is Book of Night by Holly Black. Even though
was that a series? The way I don't remember anything.
Well, it ended on that cliffhanger where the one character we like.
Right, he forgot or whatever. Yeah.
And he's in there. He's in the shadow.
I don't think I'm picking that up. I'm sorry, I don't remember anything about that book.
I don't know if I will. We'll see what people are saying about it, but I might or I might not. It would be like a library, like kind of thing. But what about now that there's been some time? What about Jade City? What about Greenbone? No one's
heard only bad things from you guys.
I have yeeted all of that information from my brain.
It's such a polarizing series, and some people that love it, like whenever I talk about it in comments of my videos, people will either say it doesn't get any better. Second book definitely gets better. Like there's so many conflicting opinions about it that like I can't decide what to do because there's no consensus, at all.
I knew when we finished that, like, if I were going to continue, it would have to be right away. Mm-hmm. After a certain point, it was not going to happen. I've hit that point. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I would be so mad if I invested in a 600-700 page book and didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I would be upset.
I could maybe go into it. I might read it, but if like the first 100 pages don't grip me of Jade War, I would DNF.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I don't need to know. There was nothing there that I need to know. Like when I was like, maybe Book of Night, because there's one thing there that I wanted to know, and it's about the one character I liked. There's literally nothing in Jade City that I need to know. I'm done.
That's valid. Any other thoughts about our reading year? Do you want me to tell you what our reading year actually is ranked?
Yes.
Like best to worst? Okay, so best is Book Lovers.
Cool.
Number 2 is First Sister.
Yes.
Number 3 is Babel. Number 4, now we're getting close. Number 4 is 100,000 Kingdoms. Mm-hmm. Weird that was 4. Bloodmarked is 5. Book of Night is 6.
Dr. Moreau's that low?
Oh, did I skip it? Sorry. Dr. Moreau is between. Oh, wait. Yes, right now. So Dr. Moreau is 6.
Okay, Dr. Moreau deserves to be higher on that list.
Dr. Moreau is 6. Book of Night is 7. Jade City is 8. These Violent Delights is 9. Ice Planet is 10, and Bone Season is 11.
And yet, the fondest memory I have is Ice Planet Barbarians.
It's the Ice Planet Barbarians, yeah.
I think that live show was quite fun. Just because we went in.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think we need to almost start picking books. Well, we're going to go into what we're going to do with that. But almost pick books that we have no expectations.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were so low for that book that we just had the best time. The other books,
it was 2. It was like, whatever. I was expecting a 2.
Too much.
Okay, that changes something for me. I'm going to switch one of the things for me.
Stop.
Don't make us read bad things, Paige.
Don't make us read bad things. So here's the thing is that like this was a bad like book club year for us, but each of the ones that we picked except for Ice Planet Barbarians, we were like, we're going to love this. Like I think when we started, we were picking a mix of like good, bad books, things that we had heard, good or bad things. This year we were just like, no, things we want to read. And this is what happened.
Yeah.
So,
so we're not good.
I mean, there was a couple that we were like on the fence about. So like some of us were like, maybe we won't like these Violent Delights, but a lot of us were like, maybe we will. Yeah, Jade City we thought we were gonna love. Bone Season we did think we were gonna love. Book of Night we were fancy, but yeah, everything else. Yeah, we only picked really 3 that we thought we might not like, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
I think it's because we tried to like balance everyone's like taste.
Yeah.
Which we all read such different books. It's difficult to find the mids.
It's funny that we say we want to balance everyone's taste, but we never pick for Jordan. Like we never, like we never.
I always struggle.
Never. We're always like.
I showed up.
And she does, and Jordan shows up so often, and we never consider her feelings. So Jordan, in that way, you should really.
We love you.
Okay,
but we have to.
We have a joke that you're going to let me pick a whole year of book club. I feel like that.
I would love it. That would be the best year.
Jordan, it might happen. Fate might decide that you are
Fate
picking.
Might decide that you deserve. Yeah.
I do feel like a lot of the books chosen were very
sci-fi heavy, like
intellectual books, and sometimes I just need less intellectual books.
I'll never forget what was the book that we read where Jordan was like, "I'm too dumb."
Yeah.
To understand and I was like, "No, you're not
Henry.
too dumb."
That was Emily Henry.
Yeah, the Glass Hotel.
Glass Hotel. And I was like, "Oh, Jordan, you are fine."
Jordan, you are not dumb.
Jordan, do you want to explain what we're doing next year?
Yes. So people were giving suggestions about how we pick books. We also did this round and round, and what we decided is that I put everybody's name on a slip of paper, and we're just going to randomly choose, and whoever's name I pick, that person gets to pick the book for the month. Their name will get put back in, so this isn't like a 1-to-1, and you could get Jordan. It could be all
Jordan.
But I think we're only picking January, February, March.
March, yeah.
Okay. I'm so nervous because I don't know what
I like really hope I do not.
Okay, so does everyone have? Wait, before we do it, does everyone have 3 picks ready in case they get picked 3 times?
Yes.
Yes,
I think so.
Unfortunately.
I typed them. I should type them out.
Hold on.
Kayla's like, we're reading
And if
Fire and
you
Blood.
get chosen, you have to be at the book club for that month. You can't not be here if we're reading.
Yes,
your book.
if you pick the damn book, you better show up.
You better show up.
All right. The first.
I buy the books.
No excuse.
Wait, all the
Kanor.
other 3 have left my
shrine
brain.
of House Book.
Oh shoot!
Did you just break something? Are we ready?
I'm so nervous.
We're ready.
I am too.
I forgot them.
Like I bought this one.
Oh
I love how it's like, I was gonna participate, and then I didn't.
I paid the money to participate. And
I bought Book of Night. I did buy the Book of Night.
All right.
Who's
Ready?
Mari,
January goes to Jordan.
Yay! What are we reading?
What are we reading? I'm so excited.
So I am picking a book that we actually had on our list. I think it was for this year, and then you guys booted it off, and I was super upset about it.
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
So I think we're gonna read Nevermore.
Yay!
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've read that one.
Yes.
I love that book.
So it's the middle grade Nevermore, not the Neil Gaiman Nevermore for everyone listening at home.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
Because I was super excited about that month, and then it got.
And we did
By
boot it.
Jessica.
For Bone Season. We booted it for Bone Season.
Season.
Which is like such okay.
How are you
Jordan.
crystal clear,
Let's
this
get it
is-
again.
For crystal clear, this is Jessica Townsend's.
Yes.
Yes, Jessica Townsend's Nevermore.
The Trials
middle
of
grade.
Morgan Crow.
Morgan Crow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
January is my birthday month too. I'm excited.
February is, I think it's, I did this on Post-it notes, so they're sticking. Samantha!
Yay!
Don't take my pick. She is.
I am taking your pick. Legends and Lattes.
Yes!
Oh, yes! My list. That was on my list.
Cam gave me that for Christmas.
I gifted that for Caleb for Christmas.
And Mari and I bought it together when we were overseas. So
we
I
basically
need
all
to
already have
rethink
it.
my
Don't
list.
pick me. I don't like my other 2 picks. Don't pick me.
don't pick me. You don't like your other 2 picks. Pick something else, Kayla.
I'm looking.
Hold on. Give me a second, too.
Oh my god.
Oh, God. I don't know what I'm going to pick.
The
You know what my
pressure.
first pick was?
Which one?
Oh.
I can't see it. can't see
I can't
it.
see it.
I can't see it.
I can't see.
What the fuck is? Oh,
Your first was Legends of Latte.
Legends of Latte.
So was mine. So was mine. Awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Dun, 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 dun. Kayla.
Kayla!
I would like to read The Sword of Kaigen.
Oh, I
Nice!
thought that was-
Okay.
Oh, I packed
What
it
is
away.
that?
What is it?
The
Wait.
Sword of
It's
what?
the Sword of Kaigen. It's
Or Kagan? Kaigen?
Kaigan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the
EN or AN?
SBFBO winner a couple of years ago. It's a standalone fantasy.
Yep.
A good for her.
Kind of has Avatar vibes, I think. From
Yes,
over here.
Nice.
apparently.
All right. That was
Is it-
so fun. I can't wait.
That was
to
very
see
fun.
it.
Okay. So that
Right.
means that also, okay, so people that picked have to show up to their month, but also everyone has to show up for March because we're going to be picking again for the next quarter.
Yes. Okay.
I'm keeping the one book that is bad that we'll read if I ever get chosen.
I feel like you're now holding us hostage.
I feel like Paige, you'd make us read like a Sally Rooney or something.
See, the other picks are very literary. This one's just trash. It's
Okay.
fantasy, but it's trash.
Excellent.
I can't wait.
I love that.
Excellent.
I
can't
would just
wait.
like to point out that Jordan's like, I don't like high fantasy, and now all of our books are fantasy. The first
Oh no.
No, but Nevermore's like it's like a
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
amazing.
Legends of
Cool.
Lattes is cozy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The only one that's
Exactly.
high here that Jordan might struggle with, which I don't think Jordan will struggle with because I think
No,
Jordan has a very big
I've read
brain.
like the first
Is
couple
Sword of
chapters for
Kaigen.
it. It's so
I
good.
have a very big brain.
Yes.
Oh.
You are very smart, Jordan.
You
You've
are.
avoided-
You've avoided falling in fires while drunk. Not everyone can do that, Jordan.
Yeah, that is true.
I was trying to get pictures of the stars.
Exactly. You are an astronomer, Jordan.
Secret
I really was
talents.
hoping Jordan would get all three. I thought that would have been great.
I,
This is
I
exciting.
want Jordan, I want you to get at least one a quarter.
I won a
Yeah,
quarter for Jordan.
I agree.
I had
Good
three
man.
picked out. I had 4 picked out. Just in
Okay.
case.
Yeah.
He was ready.
More.
He was
Uh-huh.
ready.
All right,
so
so
excited.
we've got Nevermore in January, Legends
Yes.
of Lattes in February, and Sword of Kaigen for March.
Yeah.
Angie, I would not in the comments. I haven't read. No.
And now I want to see what Paige.
But maybe now. But now
Yeah.
maybe.
She's like,
Jennifer L. Armentrout.
suggestion.
I feel like when we all started BookTube, like the Alien series,
Lux
was
series
really
was
big.
big.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was like
forgetting the
2013,
floppy paperbacks.
2014. Yeah.
It was a big deal, and now look at her. Now look at her go.
Mhm.
All right. I think you know what? I think our reading year is going to be trash, and I have no expectations. I think it's going to be the worst.
0.
Actually, all of these I have high expectations for. So, oh shit.
Oh shit. I mean, I was just gonna say it can't be worse than this year.
Right.
You know, I'm not
Don't-
gonna
Technically
Don't
good.
put that out
Don't
there.
put that out there.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
That's it for us.
That's it
We
for
will
House
see you
Salt.
back in January. New year, new us.
New year, new us. BB.
New picking method. I love this.
Yes.
Yes.
We're excited.
Jordan.
Thank you so much for being with us today and the whole year. And we'll see you guys in January.
See you in 2023.
Bye.